So you probably recognize yourself in getting worked up about things you have no control over, right? Just think about it. You get upset because it's raining or cold outside. You get upset because you're stuck in traffic. Upset because someone's reaction was completely different from what you expected. Maybe you come home after a long day of work and you are tired as hell and your partner has had a rough day too, and there's no dinner on the table. Endless scenarios can be imagined. But what can you do about it? Apart from being upset? Not much, eh? Because being upset, it doesn't change the weather. You're still stuck in traffic, and the reaction of that particular person remains the same, and there is still no food on the table. So what's the point of being upset? Exactly, there isn't one. I've experienced this so many times, and I'm sure you do too. But you know what? I am very tired of that. And yes, I know we are indeed human, and some things just frustrate us, but it's still a waste of our energy to get worked up about those situations. And a while ago, I came across a quote from Epictetus, an ancient Stoic philosopher. He said, "Some things are in our control and others not." Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are the body, the property, reputation, command, and whatever are not our own actions. And the seed from this quote began to germinate just recently. I find myself increasingly focusing on what I call the circle of influence, which, after some deeper research, comes from work by Stephen Covey. I'm not sure if you know him, but I have never heard of him, and the only Stoic version was actually familiar to me. And this principle often calms me down. Because now, for example, that my vacation is almost over and the fact that I have to go back to work in a few days, all sorts of scenarios came to mind earlier this week about which I have no control over. Honestly, I was already thinking about getting back to work since the day that my holiday started. Isn't that just strange? I was already preoccupied with upcoming deadlines and scheduled meetings I'm not looking really forward to. And of course, potential scenarios that might not even happen. I was simply telling myself stories again. Are you familiar with this? You probably tell yourself stories as well. And it's during those moments that I pull myself back in the now, where nothing is wrong. There are inevitable situations in life, and that's just how it is. There's no point in getting worked up about them. The only thing I can do is be in the now, because aside from the fact that there's nothing else, I can only influence my reaction when that particular moment becomes a now. Still with me? This has also made me realize something else, because what lies within my circle of influence is also what I do outside of work. The signals I've noticed within myself related to my work are not positive, actually, and working another job or for another boss won't change that. It comes down to wanting to turn this kind of frustration into energy to actually make a difference in helping people, to seriously make something of writing, for example, and creating these videos, because that's where my passion lies, to seriously make something of meaningful content creation. I spoke to one of my uncles recently, and I drew so much energy from his words. He has his own business for the majority of his life, and I seriously don't know a harder worker than him. He doesn't just take extra steps. That man moves mountains and accomplishes the impossible. He said to me, "If you really want something, Wesley, you have to put in the effort." Along with the concept of the circle of influence, that really resonated with me. What I'm going to do is step on the gas and put in that extra effort. I'm not going to just apply this on Medium, the platform where I write, but in all areas where I want to achieve something. Life is too short for half-hearted effort, right? I believe you have to be fed up enough to reach that turning point and initiate serious change. And don't get me wrong, balance is still important here. I'm not suddenly going to neglect my family or myself, but I can tell you that I have reached that point, that turning point. And yes, I feel very motivated. So what about you? Are you familiar with the circle of influence? And if so, how does it look in your daily life? Let me know in the comments.